Gotta slap myself on the hand, man. Gotta pay attention when you muted the mic. But what's happening? I 11. Thursday. Got the game on. Ain't ate dinner yet, so it's gonna be a long night. But won't be no pause breaks or no digesting going on. Yeah, it's just all breaks. It's a chill day. And today, I'm going heavy on men. So, women, you can take a break. I'm not going to be talking about you. I'm not going to be throwing shade. I'm not going to be attacking you. So, you ain't got to feel no type of way about it. This is just a conversation between myself and the men out there. I mean, of course, you're welcome to listen and take from it whatever you want, but see what I'm focused on. I got you. I got you. I got you. We good. Sound good. Man, the three biggest, I want to say, responsibilities of men, in my opinion. To be a man, you got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to discipline and provide structure. And you got to be able to teach / learn. You got to learn to be able to teach. But all three of those things make you a man, make you a better father, make you a better husband, make you a better brother, make you a better everything. It really rounds out your masculinity to be able to do those things. And with these abilities, men were able to basically set the rules of how society worked. What was expected of you when you went outside, what was expected of you when you came into their home, when you came into their businesses, when y'all were out and about engaged in any kind of activity. Men pretty much set the expectations. Hey, this is how it's going to work. Any problems? Bet. This is what's expected. It's crazy how black men and black women were the minority in America. I want to say we're probably like the third largest group now, because Hispanics had to have caught us by now. But white men have gone nowhere. And yet somehow, some way, the ground rules for society in America have disappeared in the thin air. But remember, white families are still here. And it's not white men or black men expected to communicate and lead and teach and all those things. It's all men. So what changed? You can track it. As a black family fell apart, somehow, some way, the infrastructure of America fell apart when black people have never had the power in America. Or so it seemed. We didn't have the power of resources, but we got the power of influence in spades. And we learning that. Because folk come outside and it's weird trying to interact with people, because there used to be like a code of ethics. There was groundworks, or there was groundwork laid on what was expected in order for you to communicate with somebody. It's like a dress code in a club where you know what was going on in the club and you know what was likely to happen in the club, but the bare minimum was you had to show up a certain way, and then anything goes from there. It was the same with society, where the bare minimum is you have to understand these things, you have to accept certain things, and then you can interact with whoever, however you chose. And now we're in a situation, we living it out, where what happens when folk don't agree to your terms, or they walk around with their own terms? How do you interact then? And to not be so generic in the questioning, be more specific. All right, so say you plan on going to the grocery store. You just want to pick up some eggs and some bread. That's it. Grocery store, eggs and bread. How you plan on getting there? You gonna drive, right? Grocery store not close. How easy is it to get to the grocery store when everybody knows the rules of the road, respects the rules of the road? Relatively easy, right? You know what to expect. You know how to maneuver through it. Easy to get there. Now imagine trying to go to the grocery store where folks is driving through yards, going at all different speed limits, just skipping stop signs, skipping the lights, getting into accidents, keep going. Just, there are no rules of the road. Just whatever happens, happens. Just the wild, wild west. That's the equivalent to trying to interact in today's world, where really anything goes. If you think it, or if you feel it, you good. It doesn't matter if anybody else thinks it. It doesn't matter if they agree with it. It doesn't even matter if they validate it. If you can create it, then boom, you're good to go. It's scary because we social animals, and being social animals, you have to interact with other people. How do you interact with other people when y'all don't even agree to terms on how to communicate? Say you're a real polite individual. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm going to be as polite as possible and communicating my point. And you got somebody on the other side who every other word is a cuss word. They don't have any control over their nonverbal, so they look real aggressive. They talk loud. Their tone is real sarcastic. But you guys are trying to have a conversation. Conversation ain't going to go too far. Now, imagine having that same conversation, but instead of being in person, you're doing it online. So you can't even pick up the nonverbals. You just see somebody typing in all caps, and there's a lot of cuss words, and there's not many manners being expressed. No punctuation, just one long run-on sentence, and there's a lot of cuss words in there. And you trying to communicate with this person. One or two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get outside of yourself and you're going to have to break some of your own rules, your own standards, or you're going to isolate and you're going to not want to communicate at all. This interaction and the discomfort of trying to engage in that interaction is happening multiple times a day between multiple people in different environments through different contexts all the time, every day. It's so much harder to interact with people because what we just took for granted of decency, common sense, a certain level of intelligence and discipline, all of that is gone. So now you're trying to have a conversation with people where you don't even know how to talk to them. You speak in the same language, but you speak in two different languages at the same time. How do you engage in conversation? How do you interact with somebody where it's basically like y'all speaking two different languages? And then having to figure out what language each person is speaking while you talking to them. It's stressful as hell. To have to do that once is going to be tiring. And I have to do that a minimum of 10 times a day. You'll feel burnt out. You'll feel confused, frustrated, chaotic, and a little pessimistic when it happens over and over. Like, it's not going to get any easier. Same thing is happening in society today, where you don't understand who you talking to or how to talk to them, but you understand that you want to talk to them. And that's where the conversation goes to, this is a man conversation. Because, seeing the topic, rules of engagement, right? When you consider all of the background work that goes into becoming an adult and then going through life as an adult, what responsibilities are placed on you, what's expected of you as an adult, and you take all that away, you're stuck. You don't even know how to acknowledge somebody as an adult without these things. But in today's world, a lot of adults don't have these things, and you still have to interact with them. So the only way to interact with them is to go all the way back to step 0. Determining the rules of engagement. It's crazy that you would even have to do it, but in order to circumvent the steps backward that we taking, you literally have to take some steps back yourself and start from the very simplest of conversation when you meet folk. Before, it used to be, hey, how you doing? My name is, how are you? We can find common interests. We're gonna match each other's communication style. So if I talk loud, you're gonna talk louder. If I talk quiet, you're likely to talk quieter. And we're gonna find each other's frequency and we gonna match that. Now you got to tell somebody that's what's happening. All right, so cool. My name is, I prefer to be called. What do you prefer to be called? I prefer you talk to me this way. If you talk to me this way, I'm going to assume it's disrespect. What about you? All right, here's what the conversation is talking about. I'm going to be specific to just this situation. I'm not talking about you. I'm speaking just about this situation. Did I offend you in any way? Are we cool? Outside of this conversation, I can't control that. All I know is what's in this conversation. And you're going to have to do that with each new interaction, just so folk can have any kind of understanding of how to communicate with you. It's similar like the forms they put when you working with people with special needs. My name is, I like, I don't like, do this with me, don't do this with me. Boom. Now you can work with me. You got to do all that background work when dealing with normal adults now. Because there were steps that were skipped when they were kids and steps that were skipped when they were adolescent and steps that are being omitted as adults, because as an adult, I have the choice whether to communicate or not. So I'm going to choose to not. And you got to do all of this groundwork just to entertain a conversation. And then you got to slow walk conversation into interaction. Then you got to slow play the interaction into a relationship. And word relationship is heavy on this, because as much as folks, especially with podcasts, focus on dating, it's not just the dating relationships, friendships, people you work with, even strangers. Hey, I have to explain to you how to be a stranger around me, because if you do these things, I'm going to consider you a threat, and I'm going to have to handle that accordingly. You have to teach wildest thing ever. You got to teach people how to be strangers around you, and you got to teach them how to be acquaintances. Like, hey, if you do this, you too comfortable. If you do this, you being suspicious. This is what was expected of you as an adult. Somewhere along the line, nobody taught you that, but when you're around me, this is what I expect. Because again, all you can control is your space. What you do whenever I'm not around, can't control that. But while I'm around, here's how it's gonna work in my space. Which is why it's a masculine thing, because that's setting boundaries, that's discipline. Telling folk this is how things are going to work. Here's how things are not going to work. Because I'm in charge of protecting my space and protecting the people that are in my space. As a man, it's my responsibility. So as a man, it's also my job to communicate to you and to teach you that. Because if I don't communicate and I don't teach it, who's in the wrong? If somebody does something you don't like and you never communicated to them not to do it, or the consequences of what would happen, you in the wrong. Because now it look like you just need an excuse just to jap out. And I'm speaking specifically on while you're physically in the same environment as folk. That's one issue where when I'm in the environment, I want the best for my environment. So I expect you to contribute to that environment. Here's the rules on how I expect you to contribute. They say you can't control folk. No, you definitely can. Grown folk gonna do what they want to do. You certainly have the choice to do as you please. But with every choice comes consequences. If you make a certain choice around me that affects me, it is now up to me to administer these consequences. If you out with your kids, you eating dinner at a family-friendly function or a family-friendly environment, and somebody comes in there half naked, talking all loud, cursing, using words that you wouldn't use in front of your kids, would you speak up? Would you say something to them? If they start to get violent and now the environment feels like it's going to be unsafe, are you going to do something about it? Or are you going to allow your kids and your group to remain in an unsafe environment? No, you wouldn't. And that's the same. You are in control of your environment. So to some degree, you have control of the people in your environment. It's give and take. Everybody has free will. The free will goes into how you act, and the free will also goes into how you react to others. And when you're in person, it's relatively easy because know if you can see the board or not. I live by this heavily because being raised in the social media world and in the digital world, a lot of our stresses, traumas, and grievances come from people who you'll never meet, who you aren't physically interacting with, and who feel a false sense of comfort because there are no consequences. And the one thing about social media is it's heavy on the right to free speech, but there's an imbalance of consequences to your free speech. And that's lent itself to a lot of people saying a lot of things that they wouldn't say otherwise. There's a false sense of protection of me being able to make you feel uncomfortable or make you feel unsafe while I get to hide in my own comfort and in my own safety. How can I infringe upon your existence without actually physically being around you? So this right here is big for me. And again, GGOD, ghetto gospel of the day. It's not going to be in any religious text. It's not going to be in any book, or not any book that I've read. This is just one of the sayings that I wake up with. I used to be on Facebook heavy. On Facebook, whatever was on my mind, I would post it, and then I would go through it like a diary and just check through whatever thoughts I had. Do I validate these thoughts, or are they invalidated by new experiences I've had? Yes or no? And instead of posting them on Facebook now, translate them GGOD. So quote of the day is sayings from other people. GGOD, saying a quote that I came across and that I was inspired to have. And this should be like universal. Everybody should listen to this. Everybody. Like, if you use technology, this should be big for you. Never argue with somebody who is outside of your slap radius. Say it again for the folk that's hard of hearing. Never argue with someone who is outside of your slap radius. And I'm not promoting violence. I'm not a violent person. I don't like to be around violent environments. Boxing as a sport, okay. Boxing just for the fun of administering pain, no thank you. Goes for any kind of fighting. If you fighting just to be fighting, don't really want to be around it. But with that being said, part of discipline and protection is violence, because self-defense typically means physically having to defend yourself. And the biggest teacher is consequence. And the biggest consequence that you're raised to acknowledge is pain. So I'm not telling folk to go out here and, hey man, if they close enough to slap them, slap the shit out of them. Nah, that's not what it is. But if somebody's not within your ability to administer consequence, or if they're not close enough for you to affect them in any kind of way, then you acknowledging them should be optional. And majority of the time, you acknowledging them should be null and void. If somebody's arguing with you from Berea, Ohio, and you live in Miami, Florida, why argue? It's the same as like when bill collectors used to call your phone. Don't gotta talk crazy to you, because regardless of how crazy I talk, that's not gonna do anything to the bill collector. They can just keep calling. It's the same with social media. Somebody's hating, somebody's being disrespectful, somebody's being disagreeable, or just being annoying, just to be annoying. You don't gotta acknowledge that, because there's only so much control you can have over your environment. And in that situation, the control you have is just not acknowledging it. Block them, delete them, ignore them, just move around. And unfortunately, because of how technology works, that's all you got control over, is your participation. You are not in control of the environment, so all you can control is your participation in it. But when you are in control of the environment, like you're physically able to maneuver and manipulate your environment, it's not even about being violent then. It's more so, I'm able to get to you as easy as you are able to get to me. We both have the same ability to disrespect each other. And we both have the same ability to check each other. And in the most efficient of fashions. And if you're being disrespectful, chances are you're comfortable being disrespectful. Pain is discomfort. So to take you out of your comfort zone of being disrespectful, pain is going to take you right out of that comfort zone. So in your brain, your disrespect is going to equal your pain. Easy math. 1 + 1 = 3. But it's 2. 1 + 1 = 3. In this situation, it makes sense to those who it makes sense to. When I'm able to touch you and I'm able to control your environment, then you got to think about how you maneuver around me. You don't have that control over social media. You can't affect somebody else's participation in digital interaction. You don't have control over that. So folks can digitally interact with you as much as they want, as long as you participate. In person, those freedoms, those same freedoms aren't there. It's more balanced. The same way that there is freedom of choice, there's freedom of reaction. There's freedom of consequence. Not freedom of consequence, freedom to consequence. Like, you're not going to get away from what happens, but you have the right to deal with what happens. And that's big. Like, this right here, man, if you tap Bible verses on yourself, this is at least t-shirt worthy. Super t-shirt worthy. Or a hoodie. It's getting cold outside. Woke up, it was like 48 degrees. Hitting me. But to get back to the point of handling your situation, right? And trying to make sure that you're in control of everything you need to be in control of. The ground rules is number 1. Terms of engagement. I'm going to communicate expectations. I'm going to communicate the result of meeting expectations. I'm going to communicate the result of not meeting the expectations. And I respect you as an individual, so I'm going to allow you to make the choice for yourself. And one way to look at it is, I'm going to have a conversation with you. You can choose to engage. You can choose not to engage. If you choose not to engage, boom, it doesn't happen. If you choose to engage, be respectful. We can make it through the conversation. You be disrespectful, slap the shit out you. Same way it was your choice to engage or not, it is also your choice where we can have this conversation to be respectful or. But again, I respect you enough to make the decision for yourself. And as an individual, you got the same right to impose that back upon the other individual. I can talk to you or not. You can talk to me or not. I can respect you or not. You can respect me or not. We've set the ground rules. Setting ground rules. There's nothing disrespectful about setting the ground rules, which is why it's a masculine thing. Because men's biggest problem is disrespect. Almost everything goes back to disrespect for men. Not invalidation, disrespect. And majority of setting the ground rules is at no point in time am I going to feel or experience disrespect. If you disagree, you can let me know. Because again, I'm going to scroll through the comments. And if there's another perspective, I'm going to read it and be like, damn. So they included that too. But for majority of situations, men don't want to be disrespected. They will not be disrespected. Consequences typically pop up when there's disrespect. which is why I lean on men, because with women, it's not the same. With women, it could be disrespect, it could be invalidation, it could just be the fluidity of emotional stability at the moment. So confusion. There are more factors that can be considered to over nurture or not nurture. It's more so about how I feel rather than anything else. Feelings is big. But man, it's not so much feelings, because disrespect is not as much of a feeling as it is a law being broken. I've set these rules. Once you break that rule, disrespect. Talk to me with a certain tone of voice and with a certain volume. Expectation. Once you break that, disrespect. When you communicate with me, communicate honestly so I can have an actual understanding of your perspective and for the situation. You lie, now I don't understand what's going on. I can't make the best decision and I can't communicate as effectively as I need to. Disrespect. If we're having a conversation about this and you keep getting off track, talking about everything else when our point for being here is the conversation about this, disrespect. If you expect me to be here, or if we'd agreed to do something and you were supposed to do something, and then you don't follow suit, you don't follow through, disrespect. Majority of our issues, disrespect. I expect to be treated a certain way. I expect to be acknowledged a certain way. You don't do that, disrespect. Simple. Easy. And which is why setting the ground rules is a masculine thing. It's up to men to teach their daughters how to communicate and how to carry themselves. It's up to men to teach their sons how to communicate and how to carry themselves. It's up to men to communicate with others on how to behave in their environments, specifically your home. The head is heavy that wears the crown, right? And to who most is given, more is expected, right? As a man, you expected to provide, you expected to protect, you expected to communicate, and you're also expected to teach/learn and discipline. Those are the most important things you can do. So on you to set the ground rules for everywhere you at and anything that's a part of you. And if all men did that, that will cover the entirety of the earth. Every man goes around expressing, here's what the rules are where I'm at. It's easy for folk to then pick and choose. All right, here's where I'm going to be at. Here's where I can't be at. Here's how I'm going to act. Here's how I don't act. And even though that would cover a physical space, that will also cover the online space too. Because you'll see some bullshit online. A crazy poster, like some pandering shit. If men stood up and went, hey man, shut up with that lying shit, goes a certain way. Like, for example, right? A man will say something, and if women don't agree with it, women will slander you all in the comments or share it and slander you. And men who agree won't say anything in the comments. They'll just shake their head like, damn, look at that. But a woman will say the exact same thing. Women won't slander in the comments, but you'll see the comments full of men who say, I agree with you. Say it louder. I'm a champion of that. If men did the same thing under men's comments, there would be no need for the women to step outside themselves and to try to set those ground rules. But You see the women attacking the man, you don't want to support the man. Like, as a man, you expected to stand on your own. No. The same way he stood on business, you supposed to stand on business. You don't get to pick and choose when to set the ground rules, because more often than not, folks are going to see the consequences or the opposite consequences and choose not. That's how we ended up in the situation we're in now. If men just stood on business at all times, imagine how different the world would be. People won't be saying stupid shit. They won't be doing stupid shit, because if they did it around the right men, they're going to nip that in the bud. There's going to be consequences. It's a teachable moment. It only take 1 foot in the ass to realize that you don't want a foot in your ass. We ain't got to even go that far, because all you had to do was tell them the first time that they spoke too loud. That's not respectful. Speak at a respectful tone. Could have nipped that in the bud when folks was young. But you let that second grader yell everything. He's 22 years old, calling people bitches, poking people in the forehead. And now somebody done broke his little ass off. They ain't got to go that far. Set the ground rules where you at today. I got an uncle who has a saying, man, it was one of the funniest sayings I've ever heard. And ever since he said it, it's just stuck with me. And it'll pop up like angel and the devil on your shoulder. Nah, it'll just be these words, this quote just sitting on my shoulder. And I'll just think about it like, yeah, that fits. Diddy had a saying he used to say when it was, I think it was like making a band, he was messing with like D12 or something. No, not D12. What the fuck is the boy's name? Day 26. No bitch assness. Similar to that. I had an uncle, Uncle Skrill. It's never too late to stop being a bitch. That like, I'm gonna put that on the board one of these days, because that'll go diamond in the streets. It's never too late to stop being a bitch. So for the folk who's being manipulative, I'm a pander to women to do and get what I want from them, or I'm gonna be real feminine around men and not stand up and say what I need to be saying because I feel inadequate. Like that real, like beta behavior. Ain't no need. No need for none of that. Communicate how you expect the world to treat you. Communicate how you would allow your environment to be affected. Communicate what you expect from others and what others should expect from you. And life will get so much easier. Really that simple. Here's who I am. Here's what I aspire to do. Here's what I expect from my environment to allow me to get there. Communicate the same to me, and boom, we can figure out where we meet. We can find common ground, and we can interact or not interact. And it'd be easy. You ain't got to figure out or compute in my brain what kind of person I am or how you need to treat me. No, I'm gonna tell you straight up. I expect the same from you. And when men start to do that, women are going to fall into place, because if you can tell a man, you can tell a woman. You don't feel a threat from women, or you shouldn't feel a threat, because the only threats you ever feel is to your safety or some kind of competition. Woman shouldn't threaten your safety. If she does, call the police. And if you feel like you're in competition with a woman, again, shout out to Uncle Skrill. It's never too late to stop being a bitch. Start setting ground rules, man. Fucking easy. Right. See y'all tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah.